Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms. It's episode 3 of our Spotlight on Hospitality. We've been taking a look at the different opportunities when it comes to overnight rentals. Today, we're going to focus on international resort investing. And we've got a great guest today on the Real Estate Guys radio program.
Hey, ever wished you could go back in time and do some tax planning? Now you can, just like Marty McFly. Lucky for you, a brand new federal law just made this possible with an EQRP to get tax deductions and reduce your taxable income from last year, so you can use that tax savings to invest in real estate, Bitcoin, gold, even your own business. Whether you're a full-time investor, doctor, government employee, even if you have 5 or 50 employees, the EQRP works and is your secret weapon, and now it's retroactive. Hey, I'm Damian Lupo, and we have your solution. By the way, if you got bad advice and used an IRA for an apartment syndication, you are sitting on a U-bit time bomb. But don't worry, there's a solution, the EQRP. The EQRP company is ready to help you get control of your money, kill U-bit, and help you pay way less taxes. Want to learn more about this strategy? Send an email to eqrp@realestateguysradio.com for my special EQRP report. Paying tax or letting Wall Street suck you dry is dumb. Your first step is freeing your retirement money by sending an email to eqrp@realestateguysradio.com today.
Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms. Joining me, as usual, it's our co-host, financial strategist, Russell Gray.
Hey, Robert.
This has been a fun little spotlight. This is week 3 of our hospitality spotlight. We're looking at what's happening in the world of hospitality as it relates to real estate. So that's overnight stays, vacation rental. We talked about niches like weddings and so forth. And today we're going to talk about a fascinating area which really opens up the world to you, and that is international hospitality.
Yeah, well, if you think about travel, a lot of people have a goal of traveling internationally. They like to do it for fun. They like to do it sometimes for a permanent residence. And so they are exploring and they're moving around doing that. The thing that makes people want to go offshore isn't really dependent upon economic factors. It's really lifestyle factors.
Yeah.
And if you've gotten to a station in life where recessions don't really harm you deeply, right? You're not a typical tenant where you're living paycheck to paycheck, and you are at a season in life maybe where you're retired or getting close to retired and you're empty nester, you're fairly affluent. You've got that. So even if the business side of it is down a little bit, I think that the demographic of the baby boomer continues to be strong. And the other thing is you've got wealth changing around the world. And so international destinations, you're not thinking about just one market. Like even resort property in the United States pulls in people from other countries.
Right.
But if you get to like a real resort destination where it's a worldwide resort destination, it's someplace where it's got a unique amenity, right? I mean, it's hard to put in a barrier reef. It's hard to put in, a giant mountain or ski slope. It's hard to put in some of these natural features that people want to experience in their resort experience. And so there's always going to be that affluent niche that's willing to pay, limited inventory, and then it's just a matter of finding the right deal and the right investment, the right structure, the right management, which is what it always comes down to, and ultimately cash flows that make sense.
Well, in real estate, you're always worried about who your target audience is, your avatar, the person that you're seeking to attract. If I own a fourplex somewhere in the middle market, then I kind of know who that person is and where they go to work, what kind of industry they're in, what kind of socioeconomic level they're at, and so forth. One of the great things about resort properties specifically is that, and you mentioned this, but I don't want it to go by too quickly, and that is you're marketing to the affluent. See, when there's a shutdown in the economics, there are a lot of people that stop traveling. They stop taking their vacation to Disneyland or the Grand Canyon. But the affluent don't stop. Their private jets are still flying. They're still paying $700, $800, $900 a night to stay in hotels. And so marketing to the affluent is one of the greatest ways to shift your game in real estate.
So even as we're talking here in June of 2021, you have to imagine, is the world always going to be concerned about a pandemic? Is the world always going to be concerned about traveling, especially if you're older? Or is this a temporary phenomenon that could create some temporary opportunity for the people who are a little bit more brave and bold, or have found a niche where it's less of a factor? Taking a look at this series right now, because the world of real estate has changed quite a bit just overall. things that you used to just think were rock solid, you could do, like office, all of a sudden that's a different game. Retail, of course, was already having issues well before the pandemic hit and all of the shutdowns. And then, of course, as we talked about with Danielle DiMartino Booth several weeks ago, the bifurcation between business travel and leisure travel. And of course, we've been looking at the baby boomer demographic, as I mentioned earlier, for a lot of different reasons over the years. You know, the residential assisted living idea, the idea that they're moving to the Sunbelt states, the low tax states, and of course, this leisure component too. So there's all of these things going on that you just have to say, okay, is the timing right? Is the opportunity potentially right? Where is going to be the opportunity here? And again, that's what we're going to explore today. Just another niche that some folks probably haven't thought about because they still think of real estate as just little greenhouses in their local neighborhood I can rent out to, working class folks.
When people invest in real estate, they're somewhere on this continuum of personal use and enjoyment. That could be the house you live in. That could be a vacation home, a chalet in the mountains near your favorite ski runs, or, your piece of paradise on the beach somewhere. Personal enjoyment. That's why they buy it. On the other end is complete ROI. I'm buying this property because I want to invest, I want to put some money to work, and I want to get a return on my investment, whether that's through tax benefits or long-term appreciation or cash flow. And then there's that area in the middle. And this is where lifestyle investing comes up. The idea that, hey, here's a place, a part of the world I'd like to go visit maybe a couple weeks a year. Maybe I take my family, for a week. Maybe my wife and I go for a week. And the rest of the time, I collect rents. I use it as a vehicle to create that ROI.
Yeah, well, the financial strategist in me coming out is like, when you look at like pure ROI, if you're going to use it for vacation and you don't have to pay for it because you own it, that's a benefit to you. So if it's a $2,000 a week deal and you're getting $6,000, of value because you get 3 weeks a year to stay in it yourself when you're not renting it out. And then, whatever your investment, let's say it's 100,000 is the amount of equity you have in it. That's a 6% return right there just on the benefit that you're getting. The other thing is if you were going to travel to the destination for vacation with after-tax dollars, but now it's an investment property, well, now all your travel expenses are just discounted by 30 or 40%, depending on what your tax bracket is. So factor that in when you do your ROI, because that's another component, right? And then the other thing is a lot of times you can create money on a spread. In other words, I can borrow money cheaply, say in the United States for 3 or 4%, and I might be getting a cash yield on my equity that I transfer into another location of 6, 7, or 8%. And so I'm actually getting paid to borrow, and all I've done is transfer equity from one locale to another. My balance sheet hasn't changed. If I pull $100,000 or $200,000 out of domestic properties and use it to buy foreign property, at the end of the day, I still have $200,000 equity, except it's no longer in the United States, where you could make the argument it's more likely to be seized, more likely to be liened, more likely to make me a target of being sued, and put it in an asset protection friendly environment. So you have to kind of add in the asset protection value. You pay insurance premiums to protect yourself. So I don't know how you quantify what that value is, but I'm saying is you're determining what's in it for me when you go to do this. Don't discount your personal use, what you're getting, the tax deductibility, check with your own CPA about being able to visit the property, and the asset protection feature of where you have your equity placed.
Now, some months ago, we did a show on going global, the idea of diversifying your portfolio with international real estate. Today, specifically, we're talking about hospitality properties, resort properties. So one decision is to diversify over a country's border. Reasons to do that, we're not going to belabor those because easy for you to go back and hear the show that we did on going global. Today, we're really talking about how could I take that interest in being international in my real estate investing and turning it into something that either would be personal enjoyment for my family, or I just know there's demand. Like, look, how many people want to go stay at that place? That can create some amazing returns. In fact, when we look at what the average returns are across product types, they're different in industrial than they are in office, than they are in retail, than they are in residential. And historically, for more than 20 years, one of the highest returning areas of real estate has been hospitality. And now we're in this really unique place because hospitality has changed and it's been decimated in some regards. On the other side, we're seeing it bounce back. We're going to hear some of that from our guest today, who makes his living selling real estate offshore, We come back, we'll say hello to our friend David Kafka today on the Real Estate Guys radio program.
Live nationwide. You're listening to the Real Estate Guys. Find out more at realestateguysradio.com.
When the world changes, investing strategy changes too. The coronavirus is disrupting economies, financial systems, and daily life like nothing in modern history. Sheltering in place might protect you from the virus, but a wait-and-see approach to investing now is like pulling the sheets over your head while the house burns down. It's not the time to be complacent. So we're calling our huge network of thought leaders, seasoned investors, and technical experts to find out what they're seeing, thinking, and doing to mitigate risk and capture opportunity, and we're recording all of it. We're calling it our Coronavirus Crisis Investing Webinar, and it's totally free. All you need to do is register. Remember, mainstream media doesn't talk to real estate investors. They don't understand you because Wall Street pays them not to. That's why the Real Estate Guys are here. To register for the Crisis Investing Webinar, simply send an email to crisis@realestateguysradio.com. That's crisis@realestateguysradio.com. Real world wisdom is the best vaccine for a healthy financial future. Send your email to crisis@realestateguysradio.com.
Hey, it's Gene from the Residential Assisted Living Academy. The silver tsunami of seniors is coming. You've been hearing me tell you about that for years now on the Real Estate Guys, and it's true. You know, with everything that's going on in our world today, the safest place for a senior to be is a residential assisted living facility. The best place to be for cash flowing real estate in the current economy is residential assisted living. You know, I've been telling you about it. The silver tsunami is here. But if you'd like to learn more, be educated, and get the information that can really propel you into the future, I'd love to share that with you.
To gain access to an informational webinar presented by certified financial planner and real estate entrepreneur Gene Garino, and discover how you can turn a nice home in a nice neighborhood into a cash flow machine, send an email to ALF, ALF, at realestateguysradio.com. That's ALF at realestateguysradio.com.
Hi, this is Kendra Todd, winner of The Apprentice, and you're listening to The Real Estate Guys.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program, heard every weekend on this great radio station and all the time at realestateguysradio.com and your favorite podcast outlets. It's episode 3 of our 3-part series on hospitality investing. Is there a way to make money from folks who are staying overnight, weekly, or monthly instead of month to month? Joining us from the beautiful country of Belize, let's say hello to David Kafka. Hey, David.
Hey, Robert. How are you? Thanks for having me back on.
Well, we just had you on in December, and we were talking specifically about Belize. And we'll talk about Belize before we're done, because obviously that's where you live and work. But bigger picture is you're part of a big real estate network, and you're looking at what's happening in the markets in your region. So from a region point of view, that's Latin America and the Caribbean. So let's talk big picture. There was a huge concern when coronavirus hit. Airports were shut down. The airport in Belize was shut down. Lots of airports across the world, no travel at all. That obviously has an impact on the hotel sector, on Airbnb rentals, everything in hospitality. Now, over a year after the pandemic started, what are you seeing?
Everybody I'm talking to, they're just extremely busy. I have friends in Nicaragua. You know, they're just so busy, just like we are here in Belize.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, this is likely to be the best real estate sales year in Belize since I've been going there for 16 years. It's really counterintuitive even. Like, it blows me away that this many people are this interested in looking at international marketplace.
Yeah, no, I agree. I actually had to do training on multiple offers because we're getting multiple offers now, which I never have before, and things are just staying on the market for days or weeks, you know, whereas could be, you know, years.
Well, that's interesting. You know, you have a large real estate brokerage in the country of Belize, and a lot of the folks that you deal with are owner-occupants who sell, but you also deal with the folks that are, we call them expats or expatriates, who would come to a place like Belize and say, hey, I'd be very interested in having a place that I could either rent out or not. Sometimes they just want to live half the year in paradise and live the other half of the year at home. And many of your agents have not seen this robust of a marketplace before.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's just been crazy. They're liking it. They're loving being this busy, especially after being so dead, you know, in 2020.
Well, you and I did the Belize field trip together a little while back, and it's astonishing. We've done 2 this year. Normally, we wouldn't have done 2 this close to each other, and they're both bigger than average. which just is anecdotal, but it says a lot of people have been interested in this market. And we're seeing it also happen all over the place. So folks in Jamaica are busy. The Cayman Islands are bustling. We pay attention to a lot of the hospitality trends, travel agents and the like. And many of the travel agents, of course, they aren't able to sell cruise product because the cruises are barely getting started. And we're going to talk about that, the vaccination part before we're done. And who knows how long till that comes back. But there was concern when the Belize airport shut down for 8 months. Same thing happened in Panama. Same thing happened in Costa Rica. And yet some of the big markets, Cancun, they're starting to come back. So this busyness, who is it? Who is now raising their hand up and saying, I'm interested in international property?
Majority of the people that are coming are people where we have direct flights. They're not having to do so many legs, or they're just direct flights, Dallas or Houston. A lot of Texans are coming, people from California, but we are getting people, from the northern states as well.
And what would you say the percentage of your clients are that are interested in lifestyle versus more they're investors interested in ROI?
Well, since I'm the provider for y'all, I get a lot of the investors with a lifestyle component, like what Russ was talking to about a few minutes ago. So we are getting people that want 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but then I am talking to people that they don't care if they come back. They just want an ROI and they want the appreciation, and they see what's going on in the market. They see what's going on globally, and they can see how Belize, Ambergris Caye is just doing so well, and how it was, like Hawaii, 30, 40 years ago.
Well, this is a really good point. I don't want people to miss this point. You don't have to enjoy the market personally to recognize that there's opportunity. In fact, I remember 3 or 4 years ago, we had a couple on the Belize trip, and they sat down with me afterwards and said, well, this has been really amazing, and we've decided that Belize just isn't for us. And I'm like, wow, okay, well, then good job, because one checked off the list you don't have to worry about. But why did you want to sit down and talk with me? And they said, well, because we see what's happening here. We want to invest here. It's just not our kind of place. And so whether that's Belize, whether that's Nicaragua, whether that's El Salvador, or Caribbean island, it may be that you see yourself being there. And so it's that lifestyle investing, but it also may be you just see a lot of other people wanting to be there.
Yeah, I agree. And then also the politics. I know we don't like talking politics, but the politics are helping, I think, drive the market. People are tired of the quantitative easing and all the money being printed, and they want a place that's away from all that, we're having a lot of infringements putting on us, if that's the right word. And so they're wanting to come to a place where there's not a lot of rules.
Yeah, interesting point. There are certainly markets across this beautiful planet that are more layers of bureaucracy, more government, and there's certain places that are less government, more laissez-faire, more free market economy, and that's part of the decision people make. Not to say one's right or what's wrong, it's whatever appeals to you, you can go seek that out. And then talk about, if you would, David, this idea of people getting over the jitters of investing outside of the country they're used to. I know you have people from Canada and the U.S. primarily, but also people come from other countries. Talk about that part of it.
Yeah, it's really easy. I know on the Belize field trip, you talk about it's like international investing on training wheels because all the contracts are in English. The main language is English, so it's very simple. It's just like owning property in the U.S. or Canada. The government is stable, and so it's really simple for them to get their mind around it once we educate them. So we do have to spend more time with them to educate them. Some take longer than others. Some take a couple years, but we spend that time with them, and if Belize is right for them, hopefully we earn the right to help them. But our job is to help them overcome those jitters to where when they put in an offer, they know that's what they want.
Well, the other kind of client that I see you deal with are people that know they want to go somewhere, but they haven't figured out where yet. So maybe Belize is on a list of 4 or 5 places they want to check out. How do you counsel that kind of a person?
Yeah, I basically tell them, if I was you, or if I was in your shoes, I would go to each of those areas.
Yeah.
Just like people ask me, where do I need to buy in Belize? I can't tell you that. I can tell you where I bought and why I bought that, and where I invest and why I invest. But where is just not something I can tell you. You need to visit that. I was talking to somebody this week, and he talked about Panama, and I just helped them with Belize. And I'm like, I've not been to Panama. I'd like to go visit one day, but this is why I invested in Belize. I suggest you hit Belize, and then you hit a couple markets in Belize that you want to visit. And then I suggest you go to Panama and do the same thing and visit a couple markets there. And then that will help you check the box on, yes, I want to live there, or I could invest there, or not.
You know, it's interesting as we watch the Caribbean open up, because there are some islands in the Caribbean that have only opened their borders to vaccinated travelers. Like the cruise lines right now are only allowing vaccinated travelers. Some people go to a place like Belize because they don't believe in getting vaccinated. And again, not to get political, and I don't know why that should be political. That's a medical thing. Some people feel they need the vaccine, and some people feel the vaccine has risk, and that's completely dependent on the person. But Belize specifically has resisted any kind of limitation. In fact, they've tried to be as open as possible, and yet there is a protocol. Take us through what has to happen for someone to visit Belize today post-COVID.
Yeah, you have to have a negative COVID test. I think it's 96 hours PCR test negative, or 72 hours rapid test.
So you come with a negative test in hand, and having done this a few times now, it's the first time it took me an hour and 45 minutes to get through customs and immigration with all this. The last time I went in was maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's super easy now. They did away as of last week with the health app, so you no longer have to deal with the health app. And if you are vaccinated, you don't have to have the test. You just show the card, and you're on your way through customs and immigration.
Now, what's interesting is we're getting ready to host our 19th annual Investors Summit, which you'll be a part of in beautiful Belize. Everybody wants to know what needs to happen, so we've sent all this information out to the summiteers, and they're aware they have to show up with the test. But here's what's interesting. Belize will allow you to come in, as many countries will, if you have proof of vaccination. It has to have been completed at least for 2 weeks. So if it's a 2-dose vaccine, you have to have taken the second one at least 2 weeks before you enter, and then you don't need to produce a negative test. However, the United States government, as of this recording, is requiring a negative test even if you're vaccinated.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
So you have to check. And this, again, is part of the process. If you're going to go around and kick a lot of dirt, right, try a lot of places out. And again, if you're not sure where you want to be, it's a big, beautiful world. Get out there and see what it feels good to you and the kind of places you like. Or, as we were talking about earlier, just a place you think other people will fall in love with. One of the things we've always enjoyed about Belize is the constriction on the inventory, which sounds like a bad thing, but it creates and holds value because of that. It's been extraordinary to watch post-COVID. After 8 months of closing the airport, all of a sudden the real estate market is just red hot on fire.
It is, yeah, and plus now people are more. Every time I talk to people, they feel safer here than elsewhere. And we just relaxed the mask mandate, so you don't have to wear a mask when you're in a golf cart or on a motorcycle. So people are just enjoying themselves now. They're happy. We're seeing the occupancy rates going through the roof. You know, of course, it's not pre-COVID, but it's getting pretty close. I know. So the Hilton property is yesterday was at 50%, and then we just opened up the new Laya property, and they seem to be doing pretty good as well. So occupancy rates are going. We're starting to see traffic again. So the tourists are here, and they're loving it. They're diving, snorkeling, fishing, and just having a good time.
Well, and it is an interesting market because there's lots of different product types. Everything's not the same, and that's interesting. In fact, I know one of the bigger brands there had you come up to their training center in Florida, learn all about their brand, and I thought that's pretty forward thinking for a developer to say, hey, let's get some of the local agents to come up and learn about the legacy of the brand and so forth. And that's the kind of direction we're seeing it go. And I think that's part of the potential for someone who's thinking, I want to invest offshore? If I've never been to a country, I don't know the first thing about the way the law works or who good property managers are, or any of that. So one of the safety nets is affiliating with the brand. Talk about how that looks from an investment point of view for people that are coming and looking at, say, the Marriott or the Hilton or the Wyndham.
Yeah, I think it's peace of mind. It's totally hands off. You as the investor, you don't have to worry about it. You're busy making money and doing deals. And with a property like the Hilton or the Marriott or whatever, you don't have to do nothing. They do everything. The management does everything. They take care of everything. And all you got to do is tell them where you want your check.
Yeah. We're talking with David Kafka about not only international investing, but his beautiful home market of Belize. We got lots more on the way, and we'll play real estate trivia next. You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Real estate investment advice right in your mailbox. Sign up for the free Real Estate Guys newsletter at realestateguysradio.com.
With everything going on in the world, don't let your lack of financial understanding derail your investments. Real estate investors need to see the bigger economic picture. The Federal Reserve, bonds and interest rates, precious metals, oil and gas, cryptocurrency, and the inner workings of monetary policy, just a start. If you're at all confused about how and why market metrics intersect and what it means to you as a real estate investor, take your understanding to a new level with the Future of Money and Wealth video collection. Discover the opportunity to hedge against inflation, deflation, and stagflation. Gain critical insights on real estate niches that perform well in challenging times, and learn specific strategies to fortify your balance sheet before it's too late. Simply send an email to future@realestateguysradio.com for all the details. The Future of Money and Wealth includes 20 videos of powerful presentations and panel discussions featuring Robert Kiyosaki, Peter Schiff, G. Edward Griffin, Dr. Doug Duncan, Simon Black, CPA Tom Wheelwright, Brian London, Dr. Chris Martinson, and many more. Email future@realestateguysradio.com today.
If you love real estate and have always wanted to own your own business, listen up. The Real Estate Guys and their panel of experts want to teach you how to go full-time fast in the real estate syndication business. These next few years may go down in history as one of the best times ever to acquire investment real estate. There are deals everywhere if you know where to look and how to assemble the resources. The Secrets of Successful Syndication seminar will show you how to make big money doing big deals from a team of experts that have syndicated projects totaling more than $1 billion. Don't wait for someone to give you a raise or create a job for you. Attend the Secrets of Successful Syndication and learn how to build a team, raise capital, find deals, and make full-time money in 6 months or less. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events. All the big players use syndication as a way to diversify risk, optimize profits, and earn big money. You can too. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events.
Hello, I'm Brian Tracy, and I'm here today with Robert Helms. He's one of the real estate guys, and he always has wonderful ideas to share with you that can improve your life, improve your income, and help you to achieve more than you ever thought possible.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio show. We're so glad you tuned into the program. Make plans to join the Real Estate Guys at the 47th Annual New Orleans Investment Conference. It takes place in October in New Orleans, of course. Not only is it an amazing conference, but you can hang out with the Real Estate Guys at our infamous annual suite party. All the details are available by sending an email to neworleans@realestateguysradio.com, neworleans@realestateguysradio.com. We're talking today about hospitality, specifically international resort investing. Before we get back to our interview with David Kafka, it's time to play Real Estate Trivia. Your chance to win a prize by knowing today's Real Estate Trivia question. We've got an awesome prize for you. It is an autographed copy of the ABCs of Rental Property by Kenny McElroy. Kenny was just with us for the 19th Annual Investor Summit. He signed a few of these books. One can be yours if you know today's Real Estate Trivia question. As soon as you hear the question and think you know the answer, just send your best guess to trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Include your name, your mailing address, and the answer to the question. And the first person that gets it right gets that autograph book from Ken McElroy. Last week on the show, we were talking with Josh McCallan, and one of the things we discovered about the property that Josh and his wife run is it's got a big golf course Here is our trivia question. Where is the longest golf course in the United States? Well, it's the International Golf Club's Pines Course in Bolton, Massachusetts. It's actually the fourth longest golf course in the world, and it comes in at 8,325 yards as a par 3 layout. The course was originally opened in 1901 as a 9-hole course, but in 1957 was expanded to 18 holes, then redesigned in 1972 by Robert Trent Jones Sr. to make it the longest golf course in the world. Here's our real estate trivia question for this week. We're talking about international resort investing, and David Kafka, our guest, hails from the beautiful country of Belize. Here's what we want to know. What is the national tree of Belize? Yeah, every country has its own national tree. What's the national tree of Belize? Do you think you know? Fire off your best guess to trivia@realestateguysradio.com. The first person that gets it right gets the ABCs of rental property, Kenny McElroy's latest book, signed by the author. That's today's real estate trivia question. It is part 3 on our series of hospitality investing. Is there a way that you can get in the overnight rental game instead of just the long-term month-to-month or annual lease game? And it's certainly possible. Our guest today is David Kafka. He's been a broker in the beautiful country of Belize for more than a dozen years. And David, this is a pretty common decision people come to when they figure out your market. And this is true for a lot of the Caribbean and Central America and Latin America markets, and that is, how much time am I going to personally stay? Bill Marriott came out several years back with this really interesting distinction. He talked about the fact that there are two kinds of people that vacation. There are tourists and there are travelers. And so a tourist is somebody who plops down their luggage, goes to the pool, puts their feet up, reads a book, gets an umbrella drink, and spends the whole week not working. That's a tourist. A traveler is someone who goes to a foreign market and wants to experience that market. They want to eat where the locals eat. They want to have the local experience. They want to go out beyond where tourists normally go and have that experience. Talk about that when it comes to Belize.
We say welcome to every one of them, but Belize has so much to offer. I was talking to a guy the other day. He was at an all-inclusive in Placencia. And I'm like, man, that's a disservice because there's so many great restaurants in Placencia. So we like all of them and we welcome everyone, but there are so many great places to be and to enjoy. So definitely come to Belize, just experiment and go out. You're not going to have a bad meal or have a bad experience.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Before we're done, we will shamelessly promote our next Belize field trip coming up in August. But I think I want to step back and talk about more than just Belize, but using Belize as the backdrop. In Belize, and you have to check wherever you might want to invest, there's a completely different set of tenant-landlord law for the kinds of properties that rent year to year. So your typical local that is renting an apartment from you. Then there is for people that fall in what they call the Tourist Accommodation Act in Belize. These are rentals of 6 months or less. And those are two ways to invest. So if I was coming to Belize as an ROI investor, I might recognize things like there's not enough workforce housing. So that would be a month-to-month type of rental. Or, oh my gosh, look at the opportunity in renting by the night. Talk about those two opportunities.
Yeah, they're both a lot of need in both areas. So it just depends on, the hospitality end is just a lot more management, things like that. Whereas nightly or workforce housing is basically you just collect a check, every week or every month and then just pay the several bills that you have. It's not as management intensive, if you will. But we do have the need for both of them. And it just depends on the type of investor, your investment philosophy, on what you want to invest in.
Well, and I wanted to bring it up because our spotlight here is definitely on hospitality, the overnight rental, but that brings the need for the other side. As soon as you have a hospitality business, you've got more employees. If I have a single family home and I hire a property manager for 8 or 10% every month, they're going to maybe visit the property, but probably not unless they get called by the tenant. They're going to collect the rent. They're going to make some payments for me and they're going to send me the net. Pretty simple. If it's hospitality and I own a unit within a big branded hotel, well, there's new people moving in every week, sometimes a couple a week, and the rooms have to be cleaned and turned and freshened up and changed, and guests requests have to be accommodated and all that stuff. So there's definitely a higher level of service that's required. But there's also a much higher rate that they pay. And so that's the part you have to decide. If I want certainty and durability, then I might lean more towards the month-to-month rental for the people who are working in the resort administering that service. If instead I'm interested in betting on the high side, I might want to own the hotel room.
Yeah. And what I see and what I've seen with the branded hotels, they're giving you a higher occupancy. They're giving you a higher ADR, the average daily rate, and they're just doing a great job at it. So as long as the management's doing good and they're keeping the costs down and the rates up, I know this year we've had to, buy the business, so to speak, for the hospitality, but the ADR is going up. And so totally, that's again why I'm a brand believer, is because I see firsthand what a brand's doing for the investors here. And I know, like what Russ was talking about, a lot of people just look at the ROI, but you need to factor in the tax benefits, the appreciation. Nobody really talks about that, all the time. They just look at what the cash flow ROI is.
Well, excellent point about the brands. And, it's kind of like in franchising. The reason you pay money to be part of a franchise is they have a proven system, they have a menu or a recipe, something, right? And so you're paying a little extra rather than open up, Joe's Donuts to shop. I'm going to open up, insert famous brand of donuts here, and that shortens the time frame. So it's like you mentioned, sometimes a brand makes sense, but doesn't mean it's the only opportunity. And even though you're based in Belize, you certainly have a lot of folks and a lot of friends who do what you do in other countries, and you put together this report on finding a great international agent. You're a guy that grew up in the U.S. and went international, and people have probably heard your story on the show. If not, they can go back and listen to those episodes. But you came first for the market and fell into real estate second, but now you've been there as a broker all these years. Tell us, what are some of the things people need to look for when they're finding an agent that can help them?
There's a lot of countries out there like Belize where there's no laws, there's no legislation on being an agent. So anybody can come off a plane, print a business card, and they're an agent.
Right.
And so you need to ask certain questions. You need to look at different things and find out different things. And so this report will kind of go into that. What you want to look for, what you want to ask. If you're looking for an investment property, you're going to want an agent that's investing in property, because they're doing what you want to do.
And you can be sure, not just in Belize, but everywhere, not every agent eats their own cooking, so to speak, right? It's one of those things. In fact, in Belize, there are no commercial real estate agents. Like literally nobody leases office and retail space separately. It's the same group of agents that could represent people there. And so we come from more first world countries expecting it to be a certain way, and it's not. So I like the fact that you have some of the keys here. Before we're done, we'll tell you I can get David's report on finding a good international agent anywhere. But also I think this is a trend. You mentioned the politics. Okay, that's one reason why people might want to consider another country to either to have an investment or to move. You are seeing people decide to move to Belize, like pick up their bags and head to Belize. What are those people looking for?
They're looking for a simpler way of life. They're wanting to spend more time with their kids. The virus has kind of opened it up where people are working from home and they can work from anywhere. So these people are really just wanting to, I wouldn't say get out of the rat race because they're still working, but it's a simpler way of life, a lower cost of living. It's not cheap by any means, but it is a lower cost.
We have some friends there who would fall into the category of what we call nomadic workers. They can work from anywhere because of what they do. They work online, they have internet-based businesses or consulting firms, or they do presentations, and everyone's figured out how to do that virtually these days. So if we can live anywhere, why not live somewhere fabulous? If you're thinking about international, you're certainly going to want to get a copy of David's report, and maybe go back and hear the show we did a little while back on international diversification. But when it comes to hospitality especially, Ambergris Caye is a very strong market. We're going to be headed there in August for a Real Estate Guys Discovery trip. We've been doing these trips for 16 years in Belize, and the last several years you've been a big part of the trips. Talk about what people are going to learn if they come on this trip.
Man, they're going to learn anything and everything about Belize and the market. So it's by the end of the trip, you'll know more than probably 50% of the agents there. So definitely recommend it. I enjoy it. It's a lot of work, as far as, you get up early, you stay late, but just the group, you meet these people, you bond with them, and it's hard to explain, but it's magical, I guess.
Well, come with us. It's happening in the middle of August. You can get all the details on the website at realestateguysradio.com under events. David, great input today. Thanks for being back on the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
There's David Kafka. We'll tell you how you can get his new report when we come back. You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Need help with your real estate investment portfolio? Check out the resources page at realestateguysradio.com.
In uncertain times like this, it's great to know there are two things you can always count on: high demand for affordable single-family homes to live in, and Terry Kerr's amazing Memphis team at Mid-South Home Buyers to find, fix, and manage the next addition to your recession-resistant real estate portfolio. The Memphis market is logistics and distribution dynamo with an economic engine that's essential to moving goods and critical supplies all over the United States. Quality rehab, proven profitable property management, affordable rents, and solid ROI make turnkey property investing through Terry's team a dream when it matters most. To learn more about Memphis and Mid-South Home Buyers, send an email to midsouth@realestateguysradio.com. That's midsouth@realestateguysradio.com. Hungry for more real estate investing ideas? Here's 2 steps you can take today. First, go to realestateguysradio.com and sign up for our weekly newsletter. You'll get access to a continuous feed of thought-provoking commentary specifically for real estate investors, while also focusing on broader picture economics. Then, once you're at our site, look for the Resources tab, where you'll find our amazing collection of special reports. Browse dozens of white papers, webinars, and market reports, and request the ones that appeal to you. What are you waiting for? Head to realestateguysradio.com to implement education for effective action.
Hi, this is Bill Bonner. I'm author of Hormageddon, and I'm the publisher at Agora, where we publish more than 2.5 million readers around the world with the Real Estate Guys.
And welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program. Hey, if you ever wanted to do bigger deals using other people's money, or if you'd like to passively invest in big deals where you don't have to do all the work, then come on out to the Secrets of Successful Syndication. It's our 2-day workshop on syndicating real estate or investing passively in a real estate syndication. You can get all the details on our website at realestateguysradio.com under events. We're talking today about hospitality investing. Is there opportunity for you? Great to hear from David Kafka about not only what he's hearing and seeing from his cohorts in other countries, but certainly what's happening in Belize.
Yeah, one of the things that I always think about is that a lot of times they look at real estate and think, okay, well, you guys are always talking about international. You're always talking about syndication. You're always talking about these financial strategies and the macro stuff. And that's because, real estate investing, like at the Main Street level, is pretty darn simple. It's not that complicated, right? I mean, people try to make it more complicated so they can sell you, all kinds of courses and whatnot, but it's really not that hard. If you know how to buy a home, then you know how to buy a rental property. And there's a few things you need to learn about being a landlord, most of which are going to be taken care of by the property manager. But when you try to cross over to the much less crowded space, when you try to get involved in things where there is arguably a lot more opportunity because there's less competition and there's more crevices, there's more pockets of opportunity. And there's a couple of things there that David said that I thought was interesting. One, you guys were talking about brand and brand affiliation. Yeah, from a resort property, it makes a huge difference, right? I mean, we've talked a lot. You and I travel. And one of the things you taught me is to be a little bit adventurous when we travel and go into the local restaurant and try the local fare. Me, I'm conservative. So I'm like, I'm going to go into Denny's because I know it's not going to be great, but I know I'm not going to get sick, right? And so you've taught me, like, no, try to experiment a little bit. But you at the time, of course, this was years ago, much more experienced traveler than me. So you kind of opened up this world of travel to me. And if you think about it, investing across state lines was scary. Investing on the other side of the country was scary. I remember when we first went offshore, that was scary. Right. And then we started getting into niches we hadn't been in before. But it all came down to a couple of things. Doing business with established brands, either people that had established themselves in the niche individually or some type of a big business that had established itself, and then developing a relationship. You know, we've had David on the show many times. David's part of our syndication mentoring program, and we promote him through the show because he's a guy who's affiliated with a big brand. He's affiliated with RE/MAX. I think most people in real estate have heard of RE/MAX.
Right.
And that makes a big difference. It makes a big difference domestically. If you're a U.S. buyer and you see a big brand, it means something. But I would make the argument it means a lot less domestically than when I'm offshore. When I'm offshore and I see Joe Blow, the realtor in some country that I don't even know, and I see an international franchise that I recognize, that Denny's experience comes back, right? I'm walking into that RE/MAX office. And so there's part of that. And so the same thing, you know, when you're out there looking for any type of an agent, all things being equal, I'm going to go with somebody that's probably affiliated with a big brand or is referred to me by somebody who I really trust. So we had a conversation one time. We were looking at farmland in Uruguay. We didn't know any realtors in Uruguay, but we knew an attorney.
Right.
And if I needed a real estate agent to represent me in Uruguay, I'm going to go to the attorney and say, hey, who do you know? And if he said, hey, Joe Blow, who's not affiliated with a big brand, I'm still going to go with that guy because it came from the attorney.
Right.
And so what I'm saying is that if you're listening to this out there and you're feeling a little intimidated, like, oh my gosh, I'm telling you as a guy that was on that side of the fence and over the last 15 years have gone from being a guy that could barely invest in my own neighborhood to being, you know, international. That happened by having kind of a guide, a mentor, if you will, who kind of took me out and got me out of my comfort zone, but then introduced me to people. And what I found out is, you know, real estate is real estate is real estate, and people are people are people, and rent comes in and expenses go out. And if it pencils, it doesn't really matter where it is, as long as it makes sense. So it's just getting over that initial hesitation to understand, hey, there's opportunity here. It's worth the investment to try to figure out how to get into the club, get to know a few people. And once you're inside and you know a few people, it's easy.
There's some great questions to ask any real estate agent, but David's put together a report on how to specifically find a great international agent. If you're interested in that, all you have to do is send an email to international@realestateguysradio.com. international@realestateguysradio.com, and come on out to the Belize field trip. It's a ton of fun. You're going to learn some things that will apply to any international market you see. And as we often say, if you decide Belize isn't for you, it's still going to be worth your time and money because you'll have figured that out, and you're going to meet some great people and have a good time. You get the details on our website at realestateguysradio.com. It's been a great series. Big thanks to Tim Hubbard, Josh McCowan, and David Kafka for sharing their insights. Hospitality is an interesting part of the real estate business. When you can profit from nightly rentals, the potential for return can be immense. Of course, also the learning curve is high too, so that's why you have to continue to get educated about it. Next week on the show, we're going to get closer to home and talk about a market that is red hot on fire, and in the coming weeks, we've got some incredible guests for you. Until then, go out and make some equity happen.
This episode of the Real Estate Guys radio show is brought to you by Paradigm Life. Powerful cash management strategies using life insurance. Learn more at beyourbank.com. Mid-South Home Buyers. Low-cost, turnkey cash flow properties in Memphis, Tennessee. Corporate Direct. Asset protection strategies for real estate investors from attorney and Rich Dad advisor Garrett Sutton. Find these and other great companies under the Resources tab at realestateguysradio.com. To learn how you can expose your product or service to the Real Estate Guys audience, call 888-489-7723 extension 4. That's 888-489-7723 extension 4. Or use the feedback page at realestateguysradio.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week right here on the Real Estate Guys Radio Show.